Yeah. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 529, Morelia Python Radio. In this episode, we're talking about white lip pythons. That's right, white lip
Twist my
pythons.
arm, man. Like, you're like, we got to do a white lip python episode. I'm like, no, I don't want to. And you're like, we have to. And there was a lot
Yeah.
of yelling and back and forth and came to blows, but you won out. So,
I won.
Yep. We'll do a white lip show.
They're stunning pythons for sure. I guess probably the thing that they're probably most well known for is their iridescence. Lisa took pictures of them the other day, man, and I think this is what started this like spark for me, right? I was like, wow, that is a cool snake.
you little Instagram girl. Like, it was like, like, oh, it's a rainbow snake. Like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
It's they are definitely the prettiest, which is why it's like I think the one thing I say is people are like, we have to get a white lip to get the iridescence. Just go get a golden child retic and leave my white lips alone. Like, just stay here. So
yeah. I mean, they have a reputation. We're going to talk about that. We're going to go through that. But I don't know, man. The more and more I think pythons are, I think they're, I don't know. Don't you have a carpet that's evil? I know I do.
I have several. I have several carpets. I have several carpets I don't trust. Yeah.
With the white lips, you've worked with. You've worked with how many?
Several. Several. I have. Right? Okay. We just talked. We just counted.
Yes. Well, I did the golds.
Yeah. Well, we just counted because I now have 6 gold phase white lips.
Right.
And those are just the ones I'm keeping because I have other gold white lips that I produce that need to get the hell out of here. So
yes.
But that
so you are going to be selling some of them.
Oh yeah, I have
okay. All right.
Yeah.
I thought you were keeping them all.
Nah, man.
Them all.
Okay. What happened today was the final thing that needed to happen before we start listing them for sale. So when they were hatched, I talked to a couple people who had stuff that I wanted or had stuff or also had white lips. So obviously the first thing is Lisa and I swapped white lips. She had black babies and I had gold babies. So we swapped, which now I have 2 of Lisa's black face white lips. The female is a shade from hell who is just, I keep feeding her hoping she's going to calm down, but she just gets bigger. But the male is actually really sweet. So I'm like, okay, cool. You got to flip a coin with that attitude with them. But with Ryan, I talked with him because he and I wanted to swap golds because my female is a wild caught female. So that was new blood that he didn't have in his group. So he wanted it. Ideally, it would have been better if my wild caught male had bred with my female, but he needs more time. So it was a captive born and bred boy that did produce my clutch, but it's still new blood. So I do have them listed on the website if somebody's brave enough to go over there and do it. What I like to do is I will put things on the website and then I'll leave them up there and then I will start putting stuff on Morph Market because then I avoid the people. It's almost like giving people who are following me or paying attention a crack at it. Like somebody bought a rhino rat snake from me yesterday. Okay. I have not listed them anywhere else but my website. So this dude tracked me down, went to my website, said, hey, I want a rhino rat snake. Here's some money. And I'm like, okay, that's awesome. You found me, you get snake. Like, I don't have to deal with people being like $sign reptile. Like no. Okay. So
yeah. So here's my question, right? Yeah. Obviously, we're gonna get into it or whatever. So the reason that I wanted to do this too is because Owen, he bred them last season, and we haven't like really done a deep dive into talking about his approach. It's taken him close to 8 years to breed them. So he's worked with so many. I remember just all the different phases. You've had them, you haven't had them, you had them again, you didn't have them, you had them, you had, blah, blah, blah.
I will never not have them again. I refuse to be that person again. Like, no.
Yeah. This is what we were talking about before the show, right? I'm sort of like, I'm trying to find the space that makes me happiest, right?
Mhm.
And I think for me, it's always been and always has been Python. What does that mean for me? Does that mean, I'm telling Owen, do I cut down the carpets that I have so I can work with a couple other species?
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna let it play out slow and steady. I'm redoing my room now. Yeah. So I don't know. I have, like I was telling Owen, I have so many coastal carpets. Like, it's crazy that I have more coastal carpets than poplar carpets or anything. And I'd like to keep them close if I do move them on or whatever, because they're all striped stuff. So, it might be going to Owens, but who knows? Maybe,
Will
and
I ever turn
combined
down?
collections at some point.
Listen. Will I ever turn down a coastal? And now you're like, a striped
Hell
coastal.
no.
I'm like, stop selling. I'm already coming. Like, it's
Yeah.
like I'm gonna come over with a box. Just put whatever's in there. I'll deal with it when I get home. It's fine.
See, this is the thing. Since I've been able to digitize all my books on Python, so I was telling Owen, I'm like deep diving into these books that have been sitting on my shelf that, like, I've read as reference or looked things up, but I've never like really like deep dived into all these things.
Ooh.
Anyway, I'm wondering if the reputation that White Lips have is just like any other Python, because there's only been a few people that have bred them. I mean, I think of you, we got Lisa, we got Ryan, we got William Philippek. I know there's other people that have read them.
Yes.
I know that that's the case, but they're the people that just sort of stand. Wait, who are you waving at?
I don't know what's happening.
Oh, it's a white lip.
Yeah, it's a white lip. I
thought you were waving a wand or something.
No, I wasn't like, I realized very quickly that female I just picked up from FedEx is still sitting in front of me when her cage is set up over here. So
right.
I'm like, okay, well, I guess we'll check out. How's your attitude? What the
good
thing about
timing
white
for
lips?
the
Yeah,
for the white lip episode.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a deep dive into the species. We're going to hit on the natural history and all that kind of stuff. And then we're going to sort of pick Owen's brain about how he keeps them and how he sort of, breeds them and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And I'm curious if there's some questions that I had about the difference between the Northerns and the Southerns, right?
One is black, one is gold. There we go.
Correct.
That's we finished.
I prefer the golds. I know, but the blacks are more popular, right?
Well, the problem is that the allure to a white lip is, like we've talked about, is the iridescence.
Yes.
And the iridescence coming off of a black face white lip, it looks like an oil slick during down its entire freaking body.
Yes.
And people somehow seem to put that on a little bit of a higher pedestal than the golds. Also, people used to say that the blacks got bigger than the golds. I think golds are just usually a slimmer species, kind of used more along the lines of like coming through tree branches. But I think people get the white lips too fat, too big across the board. I've seen ginormous golds. I've seen fat golds, fat blackface, whole thing. So, but people tend to put more stock in the blackface white lip. There are some killer freaking gold white lip out there that are gold from the neck down. It's nuts.
Yeah.
And hit that in the sun, you have an oil slick that is somehow golden. Like,
yes.
Yeah. So
yeah. Couple other housekeeping things before we move on. We haven't said it in a while, but Carpet Fest, Northeast Carpet Fest, August 12th at my place.
Oh my God, you did it without being reminded. I'm so proud.
Noon to midnight. We have a cutoff time. Yes.
Yeah.
And obviously, the rules that apply: no animals, snakes, lizards. Of course, Owen said monkeys and cassowaries. None.
None. There is not a single animal, or single thing on the list that is an exception, unless you are blind and need a seeing eye dog. Like, there is nothing. I don't care.
Exactly.
I don't care if this is your only chance to meet up with this person to avoid shipping. Do that at the hotel room. No animals at Eric's. I will ask you to leave.
Yes. So will I.
Yeah.
And next week we'll be off because I'm headed to Utah, which is kind of like I've been trying to get everything crammed in. So I'm leaving to Utah for some herping with Rob, Justin, Nipper, and Dustin. So that
how much Simpsons have you watched to go out there?
Yeah, I know.
Not enough.
Not enough.
Okay, not enough.
I am nowhere near the level of your Simpsons quotes.
It's not gonna be good.
Rob and Justin will be very disappointed.
As they should be.
Yes. One other thing I always like to throw out podcasts that I stumble across. There's if you're into retics or have any idea of like want to know about retics, the Retic Lounge. It's a pretty cool podcast. It's kind of similar to what we do with Morelia and whatnot, but they do it with retics.
Yes. So anybody can show up at Carpet Fest. We just ask that you bring food or drink. I don't care if you stop at a store nearby and grab a case of soda or I don't know, a pre-made pie. I don't give a shit, but bring something because it is kind of like a potluck kind of a deal, but don't bring an animal. Now, if that animal is dead, like if you bring a whole roasted pig, I'll allow it.
Yes.
But, if you bring a live pig with the exception with wanting us to roast it, I will be disappointed because I don't think we want to do that in the middle of Eric's backyard.
No.
So, yeah.
No. Oh, man. But, yeah, so that's Carpet Fest. There's also the Southern Carpet Fest, which I want to say is in October. I'm not 100% what the date is, but I'll get that. But just look up Southern Carpet Fest on Facebook and you'll find it.
Right.
Let's get into white lips. So currently, white lip pythons are broken up into 5 species, but in the hobby, we really only have 2, right? So you got the northern white lips, which is and they're Leo python. Right? I know, it's funny when I was looking into this, right? They've been Morelia, they've been Liasis, they've been Bothrochilus, and they've been Leo python.
And this is the problem is that when you start getting into this stuff, you're like, well, I prefer this. It's like, well, what does the science tell us? Don't know. So I prefer Bothrochilus because that makes the most sense to my uneducated brain is because they and rings seem to like fit right in together.
I would agree with that.
Right.
Having had both of them.
Yes.
My question though is, did rings become before white lips or did white lips come before rings? Right. So
the problem is I think that one point, I think because the way nomenclature and that kind of crap works.
Right.
Bothrochilus was there before Leo python, so everything would revert back to the first Bothrochilus. So
even if from an evolutionary standpoint,
even
the rings came first.
It's when they were described
and they were branched off.
Right. But it's when they were described. Okay. So if the first description with Bothrochilus happened before any description of Leo python, it drops down. It's like why every time like some people are like, I don't like this name. Well, too fucking bad. It was the first one that was deemed. So like that's where it goes down to. So I prefer that.
That seems stupid.
I don't know. All of nomenclature is stupid. So I prefer Bothrochilus.
Okay.
Because it just seems to click in my brain. And like you're saying, like
very similar.
Yeah, having had rings and white lips before,
yes.
And I can tell you right now, having rings and white lips living right next to each other downstairs in my basement, they're very similar. It just rings just have smaller heads.
Head structure's the same. They have the iridescence. Body structure's the same.
Yep.
I think the ring pythons, to me at least, but I had younger ones, but their heads seem flatter to me.
Their ring pythons' heads do not get the definition that you have with a white lip head. White lips, and this is how you can always tell a fat white lip. You should see the end of the head where their muscles of their head curve back, and then there should be like the rest of their body. If it looks just like a cardboard tube with a mouth, you've gotten it too fat. And that's the problem is that people bulk them up because you're expecting the same kind of body structure as a Burmese python,
right,
or a ring or a retic. And there should be some, of course we could say that there should be some separation with freaking heads and necks of those species. But people kind of tend to feed them heavy. And there should definitely be a definition. Ring pythons, though, seem to almost be like blood pythons. They can get stocky, and they can get stocky fast, and there's very little definition between their head and neck. And it does seem flatter, and it's smaller.
Right.
So
So apparently,
Oh God damn it!
I didn't have this paper, but Lisa was saying that there's a recent paper by Daniel Natouche where he lumped them all into two species, the north and the south. Now, Daniel, by definition, is a lumper,
Right.
So I don't know if that comes into play, but
It's just,
I don't.
I mean, all that stuff always comes into play because that's always the discussion is that somebody puts something out and it throws a whole wrench in the work. And until somebody sits down and does kind of like what Fred Parker eye? What the hell?
So the Fred Parker eye one was the
Is that the gold or the black, Lisa?
Well, that would be the so the Albertese is
It's gold.
Is
to be gold.
Is the northern. Yeah,
right.
So that's the gold.
Right.
The southern used to be
Horus eye. Horus.
No, it was Leo Python. What is it? Mirandonal. What the hell was it? Meridianolus or something like that.
Okay.
Anyway, there's a couple other ones. This was in the Barker's book where they had the Pythons of the World, Volume 3.
Right.
They talked about the Biak white lip, Biakiensis, and there's no live specimens, and they haven't been exported from Biak, so they're unknown to the hobby. It's just a few museum specimens that.
But does that? I hate classifying species based off of what we found floating in a jar from like the 1800s or something like that in the basement of a museum. Like I hate that because for all you know, that species is gone. Like I don't know.
There's the Fred Parker eye from the Barkers was the it was the Karamua Basin white-lipped python, and then the Huon Peninsula white-lipped python is the Huonensis. All those species are basically jarred specimens. There's no
I know that at one point when I was coming up, the Alberts was gold, and Horse was black. Hoser. It was because of him. Yes, it was because of him, and everyone was mad. So, yeah. So I'm happy anyway. I'm happy anyway. So, I don't like off of scale counts either. Like I don't. Because again,
Owen doesn't follow science. He just throws shit at the wall.
No, I just
whatever sticks is what happens.
The problem is that I don't like. It's a great place to start. Going to the labs, finding the jarred specimens is an excellent place to start. But then I feel like you need to confirm your theory by getting the fuck out to the bush and finding the goddamn thing. Like otherwise, you have one thing floating in a jar. Go get me two from the wild. Prove it's here. Prove it's a thing. God damn it.
So I guess for the sake of this conversation, we're gonna. That's right, Justin.
Whatever makes you feel better.
For the sake of this conversation, there's northerns and there's southerns, right? So that's
whenever there's and I know there's some importer that said that they were having Biak white lips. Whenever there's a paper that comes out or a book or something like that, a lot of times people, and it might not be the people who are importing it, it might be honestly the people who are collecting the animals, toss it out there as like, well, now you want this. Like, how many times have we seen Highland scrubs or Oxable scrubs change name?
Does that importer that's in Florida have the last name that sounds like Shitoksky? If that's the case, I call bullshit. I'm not sure about that one. I don't know. I mean, according to the Barkers, which I would go by is pretty knowledgeable when it comes to pythons. They say that nothing from Biak came in, but you never know.
What was that one island locality that was? It's a blackface white lip, Tamika. That was something else where it's like these are Tamika Island white lips. They're different.
Well, Tamika's in Papua New Guinea, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, but these are different than all other blackface white lips. Who told you that? No one knows. No one knows.
So let me ask this question. When it comes to white lips, right? If you're starting a breeding project, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, there's not a lot of captive born and bred that come around, and a few clutches a year, I would say, probably, right?
Right.
Maybe what, a handful, maybe 4 or 5 clutches a year.
Last year was weird. A lot of people seem to be getting white lips last year. Which sometimes it might just be as if it's the right kind of weather conditions with that, but you're very limited to, let's say, 3 major breeders a year, and then you have some outliers who are just passionate about the project, or a newcomer who gets, who just starts breeding. So I think your assessment of maximum 5 or 6 a year, and that's on a good year,
and
is what you got to deal with.
Yeah. So obviously, like you and Ryan, right?
Yep.
You and Lisa have exchanged babies to sort of keep the gene pool somewhat unrelated.
Right. Well, the good thing about white lips is that there still are wild caught animals coming in.
Yes.
So I have a pair of wild caughts, and then I have an older captive born and bred male, and then I have all the captive born and bred babies between me and Ryan. There is also room to move, but they've been threatening to close down Indo for eons. So I don't want to get caught with my hand in that cookie jar, because it would potentially be a problem. There's not really that much as far as like a morph chasing thing going on, so you don't have to really worry about too much. There is one gold white lip morph, which is the T positive albino, and there was
is that the red one?
No, that's no. The red. Well, like they used a gold white lip to dip it into red and do all that stuff. But I would say that the red white lip is something they're still trying to figure out. So there is definitely a white lip with a red color phase on it. No idea what kind of locality it is. I have no idea what's going on. I know of a few people. I'm sorry. I know of one person that's really working with it. And I've heard whispers of it popping up other places, but I haven't seen anything like physical or anything beyond that. So
I would think that there's not a push for.
We've had this discussion, Lisa.
I would say that there's not a push for the individual localities, because they all kind of look the same. No, right?
I mean, the problem is you fall into 2 camps. You fall into gold, you fall into black. That's what you want.
Right.
If you want them, cool. If you don't, if you want the gold ones, you want the gold ones. You want the black ones, you want the black ones. You want them both, you're fine. You can have them both, but it's never you almost want to go back in time to when there was mass exportation of gold phase white lips, because if you look at golds, there are differences in white around the eyes. There are differences with white around the lips. You can kind of see how the gold changes, and it almost breaks it down. It's like, did we just take all these localities of gold white lip and just kind of mash them all together, and no one's done the work, or now we're too far gone to try to figure stuff out? So
yeah, I think though, like if you look at other species, right, from Papua New Guinea, right? Let's just take, or Indonesia right there, right? You have the species that typically have the same phenotype. You don't really see a whole lot of people talking about like their locality, whatever it would be, right? But then you look at a species like, if you're talking about green trees, or if you're talking about scrub pythons, where the phenotype is drastically different from north to south,
right.
Even some of the islands that are around Indonesia, a biak and a aru. I mean, if you've never seen those two in your hand of a green tree, they're completely different, obviously. So I would think that it would. I guess why I'm saying this is, I think why maybe that scrub python keepers, right, kind of fall into this same kind of boat, like where they want what would it be, a more challenging species to breed, maybe not necessarily more challenging to keep, but definitely to breed, and trying to figure them out and establish them in captivity. Whereas you want to make sure that you're at least sort of getting those localities. I mean, just think of the Jayapura scrubs as opposed to the southern scrubs. You know what I mean? It's like DNA work across the range. Oh, okay, all right.
Cool. All right.
Matouche. I mean, I'm not
But-
poo-pooing
but
Daniel
did he-
Matouche at all. I love the
But
guy. I
did
think
he
he's great.
Did he DNA the pickled specimens that are hanging out in jars?
Yeah, the
That's
BI.
what I want to know. I want to know if he somehow got like the DNA out of that crusty pickle that we decided was a new species. But
Yeah, that's got to suck if you're trying to click off all the pythons to breed and you can't get those certain ones.
listen,
It's like, I'm so close.
the problem is that when you're trying to tick off pythons to breed or pythons to keep, they keep moving the goalposts either
Yes.
forward or backward.
Yeah.
Like, I think if I hadn't bred my Brisbanes last year, I would have been like down a species of python because jungles and coastals got smashed together. And I'm like, oh no, wait, I did get McDowley and Chennai. I'm good. Like, it's like, okay, whew. Like it was one of those things. So yeah.
So for the northerns, the
Yes.
males are typically smaller than the females. Except at Owen's house.
Yes, like, of course. So I got my captive born
Are
bred
they-
pair.
Are they difficult to sex? Let's start with that.
No, I mean I popped the babies
Typical?
pretty easy.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I mean they pop.
They're not like
probe.
short tail pythons, right?
No,
Where they
they're
have
not like
extra.
I mean, let's put it this way: I popped them all right out of the egg, as I do with other pythons, and it was obvious, but there was also bloodshed because it's a baby python; it doesn't appreciate what you're doing to it.
Well, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
man.
It's fine.
There's more bloodshed, I bet, though, from short tails.
I
than there
almost
are
guarantee
from white
it.
lips. Yeah.
Yes. So
Holy shit, them little fuckers.
they're horrible.
Yeah, man. They bite the shit out of you when you're trying to do it. Okay, so your experience is the males are not smaller in the northern.
So the problem is
this
that
just that Owen made a mistake years ago.
no,
and
he
it's
did
just how
not.
it goes.
No,
Okay.
he did not. So I got my pair of adults from Dennis McNamara, and they came rather large. They've been traded from a couple of hands and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm gonna get these to breed, even though everybody else who is all really good snake keepers and herpers, in my opinion, have not. This was problem number one. So the female was huge, talking maybe 7 foot, and she was girthy. So it was not anything that could be like, I mean, I tried to slim her down. She had some spinal issue and she eventually passed. So I had the male, and having a larger than he's supposed to be adult lone male, he never saw food. Like I would feed him periodically and be nothing but bird. So he slimmed down to the point where I actually really wanted him to be that way. And then I got my female, and she was all of about maybe 5 foot when I got her. And she has put on maybe she's put on weight, but I don't think she's gotten really any longer. She seems much smaller, and they bred fine.
Okay.
So
Lisa must have like updated information. Maybe
Lisa's
I have old
on top of
information.
this,
I don't know. I
don't necessarily see it. Yeah.
According to the Barkers, I don't know. That's just what they said, that males are typically smaller. But according to Lisa, she's saying there's no sexual dimorphism in the wild.
Well, I don't think there's sexual dimorphism between carpets. It happens to work out that way.
Did imbricata is like the sexual dimorphism in imbricata is I think it's the most in any vertebrate.
Imbricata doesn't count as carpet python. Okay.
Well, no, that's not true either, because typically in the ones that combat, the males are bigger.
Yeah.
In carpets.
Yeah.
Well, that's
you mean
sexual
the ones that win?
dimorphism.
No, wait, you mean the ones that win?
No. What I'm saying is that typically the carpet pythons where the males are bigger
will combat
than the females.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Combat.
Okay.
The ones where the males and females, there is no sexual dimorphism, then they typically do not.
But there is no sexual dimorphism in some carpets.
In some, yeah.
There you go. We're good.
So, yeah. So, and I would say that the from what I've read, that there is no maximum length published, which is kind of good, but they're probably 7-8 feet. adults?
Again, not even like
No?
I don't
5 to 7 feet?
Yeah,
There's a
I'd be-
medium-sized python, carpet python size, right?
I would be comfortable with 5 to 7. I
Yeah.
mean, and that's 7, I think, is on the high end. You should never want your guys to get that big. You got to understand these are slim body, tree dwelling, moving all the time. Like these are not fat ground body pythons. You know, just because a couple got huge because they found a good spot to eat and got photographed doesn't mean that your black-faced wet lip needs to be 8 feet long. Like it's
Right.
yeah.
Shit, I just lost my train of thought. I was going to say, you're saying the size wise, yeah, 7 feet. Okay. And then there's no difference between the northerns and the southerns, right? They're about the same size, right?
There was always the push of that, and people will say this, that like, oh, you got the larger white lip, or I heard you got the cheap white lip. It's like, oh,
what's that? The golds?
Golds are the cheap ones. Yeah, that's mean. So I feel that I think black phases are stockier, if that makes more sense. Yep. William and I had that conversation too. He and I are pretty much on the same page when it comes to that kind of stuff.
So okay.
Yeah. Gotcha. Slimmer is not bad. Smaller is not bad. It's obviously check out your stuff. But what I like to do is, so my female eats medium rats year round. But when she warms up, she gets a large rat. She can take the large rat. It is a big meal for her, and she's usually laid out for a couple days.
Right.
But it is not going to kill her. Like she can take a large rat. Now, some people would be like, well, she took a large rat. Now all she will get is large rats. Like that is stupid, because then she gets too big. So I have my 2 black thicker and heavier than the golds. If that makes any sense. And if it is, it's by like the slimmest of margins kind of a deal. But
if I remember correctly, the adults sort of seemed to me body wise that they were very sort of similar to like a boa constrictor. Like just strength wise, not like I know boas are bigger. Right?
Southerns definitely
but they just seem like, I don't know, when I saw them at your place, it just gave me the feeling that they were like, I've only dealt with young ones, right? But never like,
yep,
you know,
the
that's a good one, William.
Yeah, I mean, he's 100%, because it's like, I can tell right now because my male's bigger and my female's kind of, I'm like, I'm terrified of when these little guys start growing up, and I'm like, I don't know which one you are. So we may have to go back to the only way I can tell my black faces apart is because my female is a wild caught, and she has a scar right here on her lip, so it's a little fucked up, and I'm like, there you are, funny face. Like, so it's like, yeah, but
gotcha.
I would feel like they seem stockier, like a boa, whereas golds kind of almost seem like you want something that would be at home in a treetop, almost like a thinner carpet python. Gotcha. So you have a boa body and then you have a carpet python body.
Gotcha. Okay. You know, I the thing I really dig about them is just that they got those. This is what I like about Poplins. This is what I like about Boelens is the pits. With labial scales, right?
Yep.
They sort of have that black that goes in between the white, looks like piano keys type of deal.
Yes. And
there's something about that that's like so primitive looking, you know what I mean? Like if it, like you could see people you know, like painting that on their face type of deal. You know,
it's always cool because so I got the black-faced white lip boy from Lisa a couple weeks ago. And he's normally the white kind of goes on the lips and then it follows down and it becomes like the belly.
Right.
His white on one side like bleeds up almost onto his neck. And I'm like, this is the weirdest shit I've ever seen. I'm like, I'm like, why is he so odd? Like, and that was, I'm like, all right, I absolutely love him. But it was just so it's because they have such uniformity. When something's weird, it just sticks out so hard, whether it be like 3 white scales near the eyes on a gold instead of like 1 or something like that. It just really messes with you. Or when you have that gold phase that when it sheds is gold because normally the gold creeps up the sides and kind of stops. If it goes all the way around and it's just gold, I have had several gold white lips that were gold from the neck down. It looks like they had it almost looks like they took the black head and stuck it on a different snake's body.
Yes.
So
Yeah. One thing that so I was sort of like looking through Ryan Jung's stuff and seeing what he had. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting was the difference between the two, like the babies, right? Let me just, so you have ones where they hatched out with the rings, like those little tiny bands or whatever. Which I thought was really cool. And then
baby golds have spots, and
then
people don't realize that
baby golds that didn't.
Right, which you can still kind of see them
a little bit, like on the
people don't, but people understand it's like so
right
they get
here.
Yeah, so they get a small gold-faced white lip from a dealer's table, and they're like, it's a baby. I'm like, no, that's 2 years old. Like, or it's a year old, because golds lose their spots within their first year, but some of them retain them for a while. So it's like the color change you see in a carpet python when it's born. You don't normally see all the color on it until it's about a year old. Same thing with a gold-faced white lip. Black-faced white lips just look like black-faced white lips, just smaller.
So the that was one of the things that Ryan had pointed out on one of the posts that he made, that he sees people have mislabeled white lip pythons, because they say this is a gold, this is a black.
Goddamn time, because first, again, we go back to the cheap white lip. People have always put the golds as being cheaper, and I guess maybe because they were easily accessible or easier to export or something like that. So
so the northerns are bigger. They're hatched bigger, correct?
No, northerns are well, I don't know.
According to what he wrote, right? This is what he said. The
northerns are hatched bigger,
are nearly half the bulk of a similar size northern. So the southern babies are half of a similar size northern baby that is actually quite easy to recognize. So I was going to share this real quick.
So northerns are bigger. That's weird. I would have gone the other way with that one.
Well, you can see it in this picture. So the southern is on the left.
Yep.
And even though it's about the same length, the northern is on the right, and it's darker.
It's so weird. Yeah, but you can like I'm looking at it, and I can still see the remnants of the spots on the northern.
Yeah, but it's so much bulkier. I guess what I'm thinking, like, because of the southerns, is probably what I'm thinking of when it comes to that thick, heavy body or whatever.
Southerns have that thick, heavy body, in my opinion.
Yeah, you can see it. Like,
So
let's look at them. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So they're found. So basically, when we say northerns and southerns, I'll share this real quick. That's for people that maybe haven't heard us talk about this before. But basically, there's a mountain range that goes right down the middle of Papua New Guinea. Anything on the north end of that is considered northerns, just like you have with scrubs, just like you have with green trees. Carpets, not so much. Bolins sort of sit at the top of that mountain range. And then, there was talk of carpet pythons up in the north, but I think that's kind of been debunked, that there's nothing up out there. But I can't imagine. Can you imagine if they stumbled upon another species of python that's never been found? Because there's a lot of Papua New Guinea that hasn't been explored.
Or like, we're talking about all these different species, like how many were or still are on these little outlying islands that just haven't been looked at.
So Timothy was saying he thinks the southern, I'm just going by what he wrote. This is what he wrote.
Ryan
the southern
wrote it.
Is on the left.
Yeah.
He wrote it.
Well, I'm gonna go with Ryan. Yeah.
I'm going with Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is sort of the area of where the distribution of the northerns, and then the southerns, obviously, like I said, on the other side of that.
Where's Bismarck in this? Like, because where would the rings be on this?
Over here.
Yeah.
right here. See the Bismarck Sea? They're all in this New Britain, New Ireland.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, they're not related at all. It's almost like they're right. Yeah. No, Jesus Christ.
So yeah, let's get rid of that. Stop sharing. So,
I'm gonna throw something at Chris Lemmy's head later. I haven't decided what yet or how heavy it's gonna be, but no,
very nice.
No.
Okay. We talked about their iridescence. We talked about that. So prey, right? Basically, from everything that they eat anything.
I mean, I do strictly birds and rodents.
What I found interesting, right, is that we'll get into that whole, because somebody mentioned it in the comments earlier about them. I think it was Robert talking about they puke up the hairballs, but
yeah, it's stupid. I hate that.
What I found interesting was that, you know, what they've reported as prey is rats.
Yes.
So they eat rats in the wild.
Yeah. Maybe they're hawking up hairballs in the wild.
A lot of people have thought that they eat birds, but of all the ones that, and of course maybe Natush's paper changes this. I don't know. Lisa,
well, and then
out there, and
I also did the rat. Are these native rats that have been here forever and ever, or
that could be true.
During exploration times ran onto these islands and now have done what rats do, and now they've become a good food source and slid right into that bacon.
I know for those rats enthusiasts out there, and there are some that like, to me, a rat is a rat.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that's
it's rat, guinea pig, capybara. So where does it fit? Does it fit?
Yeah.
It's not a capybara.
Mouse,
rat, capybara. Right. That's it.
By the way,
the guinea pigs. Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't click on it, but I saw this thing the other day on YouTube where it said that a capybara ate a caiman. Is that true? I thought they were vegetarians.
I think if a rodent,
they'll eat whatever.
I think a rodent will be a rodent. So if this caiman was pissing it off,
and then I started to think about, it's like, well,
it's a very large violent guinea pig. Like, no, it's a large guinea pig.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So here's my question: have you noticed it with the adults that they cough up the hairballs, or the young ones, or all of them?
I have not seen a young one hawk up a hairball yet.
Interesting. So see, my thought would be that because
I'm gonna frame them as, baby's first hairball. So
just like with all pythons, they eat skinks and lizards when they're young.
Yep.
Grow into rodents and bigger things when they're older.
I had zero problem getting the baby white lips started, because I know I was nervous as hell. So I'm like, you've gotten this far, and now let's watch them all starve to death because you can't get them to eat, and they're all just like, damn. And if they didn't take the rodent, they took the quail. And then
so did you send it, or did you just give them
whole quail?
Okay.
Yeah, they were able to
right away.
They were able to take the bigger species of quail, and then they did a couple feedings on the quail, and then it was just straight on the rodent. All of them are on rodents right now, and they just crush it.
So here's a question.
Yes.
So they ate no problem right away, right out of the gate, no issues, no concerns. All right, let's take the fact, like, when it comes to pythons and eating in captivity, do you think that a lot of the species that we bitch about, either A, we're not feeding them the right thing, or are they so interbred that they're screwed up and it screws up that?
I think it is definitely, this animal has existed in the wild for how long? I know we're definitely the problem. So it just depends on fixing the problem, which is why I do the whole, whatever you want to eat, I will get it for you. Just, you need to tell me what you want to eat. Frog scented, fish scented. I am. So, and that just kind of goes with it. Like, having the frog scent available, or thawing out pinkies with frog legs works. Fish scenting, getting species of quail, getting small baby quail. Like, if you don't think I'm going to have a case delivered to my house before these rough scales arrive of quail of varying size, I don't care if I have to track down a zebra finch breeder and ask them for their small, no, I will figure it the hell out. So
I think, so when you look at, I think of diamond pythons, right? They're typically difficult to get going as babies. I've actually had babies die because they wouldn't eat, because they're eating skinks, right? They're eating skinks.
Yeah.
But if you fed them skinks, they would probably eat it right away.
Exactly.
Same thing. You know, if you fed them skinks, they would eat right away, no problem. You know,
the Mad Hogs, man. If the Mad Hogs have definitely been the one that paved the road for this kind of stuff, because it was started with, I do have out of the year 1 or 2 that just take mice right away.
right?
But then there are other ones where you have to wrap it in skin to try to get them to smell that gecko, and sometimes they go quick with that. Other ones they want quail, and some of them go that way. It takes at least 2 to 3 months after hatching to get the whole clutch onto frozen thawed hoppers. And I will admit that during that time I've lost 1 or 2 Mad Hogs that way. They just don't accelerate, or what they do is they eat, they die.
I think, wait a minute. This is another theory that I've heard thrown out there that Scott was saying. I think, wow, what a nice indigo in his hand there. I think we baby the ones that won't eat and keep those genetics alive. When in the wild, the non-aggressive feeders would be first to die.
Right. Small, weak ones get eaten. That's how it works.
I think there's some truth to that, but you also have to take into account, I guess, are you feeding it the right thing? So white lips, no problem getting going. Rough scales next year, you're going to be saying pulling your hair out. That's where I
am concerned. I am concerned. So we'll see.
I've heard that Matt's talked about that.
Yep.
I've heard Brett talk about that.
Matt talked about it. Brett talked about it. Bill talked about it.
Yeah.
Nick talked about it.
I wonder why. Why so difficult? Even if you have, I should have asked this question, but has Brett and all those guys, when it comes to the roughies, I know Matt was doing some setting, I think, but did they try with like geckos and stuff like that?
I think they did with scenting with birds and stuff like that. And I think they have had success. I don't know if they went as far as geckos, but I also think that some things about certain species, like some babies are just shy. Yeah. So like I can get more bredli feeding by just opening the door, dropping a super hot hopper, not a fuzzy or a pinky, a hopper in there, and then closing the bin, like not teasing them with it, just basically putting it in there and walking away.
That's the other weird thing, right? It's the I think bredli are like this, where if you don't feed them the right size prey, like they want a bigger prey. Like if you try to skimp out and say, "Oh, that looks too big,"
Thank God,
dude, it's crazy, right? You got this 24-gram snake, and you're just like, "Here he goes, a hopper."
If you think about it, it works so well because it's like my bredli are on the same page, same size as my jungles and coastals who hatched out months before them, because they eat these huge meals and they grow so freaking fast that everybody's the same size when everything goes down for winter again. And I'm like, is this intentional? Right. Do you know it's coming? So you're like, I can't waste my time with that. Give me that. Like it's
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so basically, what I've read in the Barker's book, that when you find these in the wild, they are basically in, let me see. So that's the southerns, but the northerns you're looking at, they're in, the Barkers were saying that the northerns are basically in every habitat and elevation below 100 meters.
Which is why I think meters. Yeah, which is why I think they're the cheap one, because they're everywhere, and if we get them, and they were always exported, and that's why they're the cheap white lip, is because there was that break in the price thing, because the blacks were harder to get or get consistently.
Right. They definitely are mostly associated with like humid forested areas at lower elevations is where you find them. Where I think that the southerns, from what I read, they're more like savanna woodland, eucalyptus forest, grasslands, and some tropical forest. So in your experience, have the southerns been a little more forgiving than the northerns in as far as keeping?
No. No. I mean,
opposite, right?
I mean, I've had sick northerns, I've had sick southerns, I've lost southerns, I've lost northerns. I kind of feel like, but the problem is I also feel like I wasn't really as on point where I am now
Right.
with them. So this is back in the day where I was doing this, was doing that. It was,
Site B days, those days.
Site B days,
Yeah,
or days where I'm like, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Like, it was
Right.
that kind of stuff. Where right now, I would say that I don't necessarily see one being more or less forgiving than the other. I would say that they tend to bounce back pretty quick. With
Which
some
ones? Both?
Southerns.
Southerns, okay.
I haven't had any real problems with the Northerns, knocking on wood, of late. One of my female Southern,
Okay.
one of them, because I do have two. She busted a tooth, and
Okay.
it got infected, and she kind of had this like thing where it was like a snaggle, like it was
Sure.
up and puffy, and
Yeah.
we drained it a couple times, shot her up with a bunch of antibiotics.
That must have been fun.
She did not. She did to her. I have two black-faced white-lipped females.
Right.
The one that is straight out of the wild with scars all over her is the nicest puppy dog white lip I've ever had. The one that was captive, born and bred, and lovingly cared for by Lisa its entire life is a demon. So it's like, I don't
It's probably nicest to be for
don't
her.
understand. Like,
She sent it to you, and
she
it's
sent
like,
it
wait
to
a
me
minute.
because it was a demon.
Right.
So,
Okay.
but that's the funny part, is just like, so she only had a real complaint when I started messing around with her mouth. Any other time, she just wants to chill.
Okay.
So, but she recovered quickly. Where like a carpet python, I've had them bust a tooth, and then it turns into full-flown like mouth rot and stuff like that. But again, this was prior to having a live-in vet in the house, so
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Lisa says sorry, Owen.
No, I don't want
Sorry,
her to
not
apologize.
sorry.
Nah,
Yeah, right.
nah, I love that. I
Yeah,
love that hard shade. Like,
he likes those
well, it's
nippy
like
ones.
you're slowly opening the bin, and you're like, "Where's it at?" It's like, okay, I'm gonna reach and get its water, and then you put the water. You're going to put the water back, and now it's like just come out from its hide box and is now like up and watching you.
Right.
And it's like, oh, cool, a snake. It's not like a drooling idiot in the corner all balled up like some things do.
So when I talked to Mark O'Shea, his big thing was that like a lot of the species that we find, like he found it interesting that we focus on like trying to make these pristine type looking habitats. And he's not saying that this is a bad thing, right? But like our idea of like trying to make these cages that look like the environment, when 9 times out of 10
they're
he's
living in a
finding these
garage,
snakes in a trash. No, I guess they must have like coconut husk piled up, and it's just like snake galore, which makes sense, right? I mean, the rats are going to be there.
Rats are going to
You know
come
what I mean?
there.
It's humid there.
Right.
It's like a big humid hide that they're just
Yep.
hanging out in, you know. But it's funny. It's like, oh, when we're going on this herpet trip to Papua New Guinea, and he's sort of talking about how everybody would look at it as like going back in time, if you will, sort of like how, I guess to a certain extent, how Australia was like when we were in Northern Territory, that feeling like we're like, oh wow, this doesn't look anything like what we're used to as far as home. But like, where are we going to find the snakes? Oh, they're going to be in this beautiful jungle. No, they're in the trash mound. Just hanging out in the trash mound.
Well, how many times have we gone out places and been like, according to the book, like, this is the picture, the snake should be right there. Right. And it's like, it's not there. Hey, there's a tire over there. And like, and that's where the snake is. It's like, yeah, they take it and they put it in the pristine, beautiful, and take the picture.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. She, like Lisa was saying in the article, he also talked about how he found them in a fish trap and whatnot. But I just find it funny that I just remember him saying that to me. I was like, and the other thing is that he was saying about how like in the southern range, right, where he'd be looking for, they're much harder to find, right? And that he would drive the road, and he was talking about how he would find like 30 carpet pythons in the night. But like, and I'm
no
like,
white lips. Yeah.
30 carpet pythons?
He's no one cares about the
no one
another
cares
crap
about the carpet pythons.
Winging it into the woods. Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh. It's the Papuan carpet pythons, and they're just like, boom.
I don't know what we would do if we were herping that location, you and I, because it would be like, it's a snake. It would be a snake. Huh? And like, it's a goddamn carpet. Damn it. Like,
well, I must be honest, on our last trip to Australia, right? you know, it did become that, right? It did
Right.
become where we were driving around in the, you know, southern Queensland, and sort of likewise Scott and Ty are always saying that carpets are everywhere and they're all over the place and nobody gives a shit because they basically become like what, I don't know, I guess what,
Listen,
like, I saw my first garter snake today in my yard. I was super excited. It's just so funny that they don't come out until the frogs start calling.
Right.
Yeah.
No, so like I went up to Alaska and I got off the plane and there was a bald eagle sitting on a bench.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy crap. And my aunt who lives up there, she's like, you're gonna need to get over that really goddamn quickly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? Driving down the street, I've seen more bald eagles like in 5 minutes than I had ever in my entire life living down in the lower 48. So it's like sometimes some animals just get overdone.
So that's kind of how it was with the coastal carpet. Well, I guess whatever you want to call it. Well, yeah, they would be coastal carpets.
Would be coastal.
Yeah. Okay. So it's kind of like, okay. Another carpet python. Okay. I mean, I was excited, but I don't know. You could kind of tell that
I like the variety. I like that. I think our trip to Darwin was so perfect because we didn't get too much of one thing and stuff like that. We found this, we found that.
You ticked them all except the olive, right?
Olive python.
Which means you have to go back.
Yeah, but you guys are going to go back to Darwin and you'll be like, so many olive pythons. Look, there's someone Pelly fell from a tree. And then I'm going to be stuck here pissed. So.
I do miss that Owen Pelly. Yeah. What a cool snake that was, man. Holy shit. I know we're getting off topic, but
we are.
Holy shit. Holding that Owen Pelly. Oh, man. What a cool snake. Oh, just yeah. Anyway, back on the white lips.
Right.
So yeah, and same thing with the Southerns. They have an affinity for coconut husk piles near human habitation. We sort of talked about their prey. So once they're adults, like all right, let's break it down this way. You're adults.
Yes.
How do you feed them? What are you feeding them? Bi-weekly, seasonally?
Bi-weekly for everybody but the big adult male.
Okay.
He'll be maybe every 3 weeks. If he is bi-weekly, it's because I have quail and I can throw him chickens and stuff like that.
So you mix it up?
To do with him. The other ones do take birds, but they're not big enough to get the crop of a big quail down. And a chicken, I can't get chickens the right size for them.
What size? Like when you say chicken, are we talking like
it's a small bird
roaster chicken?
It's a small bird that runs around on the ground and lays eggs.
I know that. Yeah. It's like a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
It's like a miniature raptor. Yeah.
Is it like Cornish hen size chicken?
No. Cornish hen size
chicken.
Cornish hen size chicken is for the retic. I'm talking, which is why we have the problem. If I could get Cornish hens, I'd have them all day. I will give chicken wings, like a whole chicken arm, to my white lips.
Okay.
That doesn't really do too much. I prefer just to do the rat. So they will get medium rats every 2 weeks.
Okay.
The older male will get a quail, or he'll take a chicken wing, no problem. Some of the bigger ones. Also, he will take a drumstick too, if I really wanted to do that. I have done drumsticks, which what you do is you lollipop the drumstick, you cut it so that the meat goes down the whole bone, as opposed to just being on the top, because that big thing on the top is a little too much. But if you cut it and kind of fold it down, it becomes basically a tube of chicken with a big bone inside.
Okay.
They've done that before. With the soaring prices of grocery market and stuff like that, we haven't been doing that often.
Yeah.
So
probably cheaper to buy rats.
It is. Unfortunately, I'm going to to one of the markets this weekend because it's near Oaks to get frog legs. So I'll see what's there. If there's fun stuff there, who knows? But that kind of seems to be the way with them.
But for the most part, they're pretty solid feeders.
All of them are solid feeders. Even so they're every 2 weeks, and then I have the juvies. The one juvie who's a little bit, he's probably about 3 years old, and he just moved into a cage because I had to open one up. He does small rats every 2 weeks, and I thought he was maybe behind in the growth scale.
Right.
And then I pulled him out of the bin. I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like he's he's big, but his head isn't caught up with the rest of them. I'm like, okay, I want to give him some stuff to move on, climb on, do stuff, because I don't want him to be fat like the male did when he got older.
Right.
But he's that way. And then the babies, the black-faced white lab I got from Lisa last year is on a large mouse, large retired mice, and then the new baby is on small mice.
So you said chicken wing, and
Yep.
Joshua in the chat sort of like, I'm just picturing what he wrote. He's like, the chicken wing kind of like goes like that, right? It's not chicken leg, it's chicken wing.
Chicken wing,
Okay.
arm.
So
like
they're
the
swallowing at the joint, so it sort of folds up
they're
like this.
swallowing it here, and then it usually goes down in like a whole tube, and that's what they end up eating is the whole thing.
Okay.
So it'll be a long prey, but they usually hit it
Oh,
here.
I got you. So instead of it being like this, it's like
not folded up, which
Okay.
some of them, some of the chicken wings, if you get what's called the party wings,
yeah.
Party wings are you take the arm and you cut it at the elbow, and you have this wing,
Sure.
and then you have this wing.
Wow. You're hired.
Right. I know. So the wings that we get for the big guys is basically the entire chicken wing. Now, these are chickens, not turkeys. So it isn't fucking huge, but it'll go down in one full tube. So they'll start at the shoulder, and then they'll work their way towards the hands.
Yeah, if you get the right angle, it'll go down the side.
I've had morons start at the fingers and work their way up to the shoulder. I've had them eat at the elbow for 5 minutes. Like it's
right.
They will get it. Now, what I usually do is I will straighten the arm and kind of bend the elbow to the point where it almost locks in straight as a thing. So there you go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no worries, Josh. I was kind of, when I read that, I was kind of confused. I was like, wait a minute.
Listen, what goes on here is I open the door and
snake has like part of the wing just kind of hanging out the side type of deal. Like,
have I watched those morons do that? Yeah.
Is this a Far Side commercial?
But that's why,
cartoon?
So those party wing things are what I give to the colubrids because they'll eat the whole thing. Yeah. And
which, by the way, on a side note, I saw one of Mike's I don't know. I want to say it was a Crebo, maybe eating a whole trout.
Yeah.
Dude, first of all,
my Crebo don't like the trout, but yeah.
Hold on.
Yep.
So different than pythons.
That is
like it came out like it was like
a cobra.
Ready to go. I'm like,
that is his yellow. That is his yellowtail, and that one is. I think it hit the glass. We were at Mike's this past weekend for a herping trip,
right?
And there was a couple times where we're just talking, and all of a sudden you hear boom, and it's just like, what the hell? And you don't see anything.
Holy shit!
But like maybe like the nose of this Crebo going back into the darkness. It's like, okay.
Yeah, if anybody's curious about it, go over to Scattershot Exotics and his page. I think that's where it wasn't on like his individual. Yeah, he has it on his.
Mike gets page. Trout because some Crebo.
He's a fisher, right?
Yeah, but he can get.
He had it on a plate and all, and it came out like you just got to see how this snake comes out.
That's how I feed. That's how I feed all my colubrids. It's a plate of food, and then they just come for it. Because if you were there sitting with tongs, it would just be like you have 9 times out of 10 it goes up the tongs and onto your face. Like no.
Yeah.
So
holy shit, man. Yeah, I was like, wow, that's why I don't keep colubrids. It's like, I would not do Crebo,
indigo, stuff like that. They are
beautiful
fast moving.
Beautiful, but like holy shit, man. You can see like they're intense.
Yeah, I have to tear apart my Chinese king rats tomorrow because the female shed, and I think she's gravid again. So I have to do that horrible thing where I have to go in there and wrestle my male out of the cage, and he's gonna come for me. And I was really hoping I'd have an open 6-footer by the time. Like this is, they will be in 6-footers soon. That'll have a pass between, like one of the bridges, so I won't have to touch him anymore because he is horrible.
Right.
So.
Oh man. Okay, back on White Lips.
Yes, sir.
So we talked about so babies you're feeding. What has been your regimen for feeding them so far?
Every 10 days.
10
days.
Okay.
Is hoppers. They're on small mice. Hoppers are in that weird in between. But I will say that come breeding season, feeding is a little different for the adult female. So they get medium rats all year round, and then I do the cycle feeding where they get shut off in, I think it's November now, because I want to keep wanting to say October, but the weather doesn't cooperate, so I keep moving it backwards. So I want to say November, is the star of, I think Halloween is when I shut off food.
Right.
And then Thanksgiving is when I start dropping temps.
So the holidays.
Yes, you always go for the holidays. It's so much easier.
Halloween, Thanksgiving,
Halloween,
Christmas.
Thanksgiving, Christmas is when you should be at like your lowest.
Valentine's Day.
And the Valentine's Day comes up. And introduction. Yeah. So the food at Valentine's Day. So I'll bring up the female white lips and I'll give her a medium rat. And then she takes maybe one feeding or 2 feedings. And then the next feeding is a large rat, something big. So give that to her. She takes that. She looks swole, is like fat as hell. And then I make sure that I give something to the adult. So the adult male, I usually will give like birds. Before he goes in with the female, he gets a large rat too.
Right.
Just because I want him to have something in his stomach, because I don't want there to be aggression towards each other. Once the lump is kind of subsided a little bit, they're together. And then I separate them for feeding, put them back together. Same thing. And the same thing goes with the black-faced white lip too. Okay,
we'll get into breeding and whatnot. But I think you kind of hit on this already, but do hatchlings need any special sending regimens, or can they just rely on their innate aggression?
The problem is that their aggression can be counterproductive, because they're just going to keep hitting it.
They do the just hit it.
Yeah. And the problem is they don't say, I was about to say, it's not a carpet hit. It is a Savu hit. Yes. The whole body is coming with it, and they're all over things, and then they're kind of just freaking out. So I feel like if you don't get a bite and a wrap out of the maybe 2 hits, pull the food, walk away.
Okay. Do you ever drop feed them? Do you ever try that?
I have, and I've had success with that.
Okay.
There were a couple, I want to say in the first feeding, when it was time for them to go, I got, because I have 9 babies. I want to say I got like 5 or something like that. And I was like, holy crap. And then after that, it was putting some quail in there. I got the other ones except for 1. Okay. And that one I had to get some live, but at that point I had been breeding mice. So it was like, I need live. Oh, here's one. And then it ate once or twice, and then it's rolling with that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, let's talk about the setups. I guess we'll start with babies first. Like, what's your setup?
Like a carpet.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Humid hide? No. Yes.
Yes. Humid hide. So, you've seen my stuff with normals. Yes. Is like a plastic, like with carpets. Normals.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah, I know, which is terrible. It's a plastic, kind of like a square, and it has a little arch cut in it. Baby can go in it. You're fine. With the white lips, actually went to Walmart and got the store, and there was a little kind of little plastic containers. I guess you would have lunch stuff in.
Yeah.
And they came with like a lockable lid.
Sure.
I took those and I cut holes in the tops.
Okay.
So where all my other babies have like holes, like little semicircle holes, kind of like that.
Right.
That they can go into. These guys have to get it in from the top.
Okay.
And I was able to fill those bins with moss and soak them down so that the babies could go in there and kind of chill. I've had them eat while they're in there. They usually go in there when they're going to kind of get ready to shed, which is good. So humidity hides for them, golds. The humidity hides throughout their entire life.
Yeah. How often are you spraying that down? What, every day? Every
what I usually do, so I change their water every week, once a week.
Okay, once a week. Okay.
So waters get changed every once a week. If the water looks clear and like, the snake didn't like piss in it or shit in it, I'll take the water and just dump it into their humidity hide. The whole thing. And that happens weekly.
You haven't had any issues when it comes to like
mold or bacteria or something? No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
It's warm. It's lukewarm water. It's just been there. Just dump it into the thing. Not a problem. And they're not drinking it. So.
Right. I was just thinking
because I will also say I will change out the baby white lip water all the goddamn time because they're usually. They will go
so adults are once a week, but the babies are more often.
Babies are more often because
I was going to say
disgusting.
Like, oh, shit.
So the baby's white lip water that has to get changed because I'm usually downstairs spot cleaning throughout the week, And the baby white lips, what they'll do is they'll spend time in the humidity hides, and then they'll go and they'll either cruise over the water or in the water. So then there's just little tiny flecks of moss in their water. So you have to just dump it, put a new one in there.
Gotcha.
And that's constant. The adults.
What do you shoot for humidity? Well, like what's the humidity in your room? Do you know?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
Whatever Pennsylvania is.
So I'm trying to think of the last. So your humidity is about my humidity. It's about the same. So I'm going to say it's probably 60%, maybe 70% in the summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say that I have, obviously you have shitty sheds off of white lips during the winter months. Yeah. Like I have a large gray bin.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that. What happens during the winter? Because here,
I have a large, because if I was fighting it,
yeah.
I mean, like, the problem is that, we have a Savannah desert tortoise that lives in the same room as the white lips during the winter months. So you can't just humidify the fucking place. Like, also, it is my house and there's a carpet. Like, I can't go nuts here, but I will spray down their cages. And also, the problem is that, so as the white lip grows, the humidity hides get bigger and stay the same, but their water bowls also get bigger.
Okay.
So my adult white lips have cat litter pans as water bowls.
Yep.
If need be, they can go in them, and come shed time, usually that's where you find them. Is there's skin all through that.
So they're soaking and whatnot.
Right.
All
soaking.
the time? Okay.
They're drinking. They're soaking. And if I catch them and they're blue, I will spray them down. But
you spraying the cage or the animal?
The animal.
Okay.
But I still have this big gray bin that every once in a while you got to soak a white lip or a ring python.
Yeah, and I was reading that especially if they have a bad shed, it's real important that you sort of get that shed off. Yeah, so you got to soak them. It needs to be,
especially with babies. But the babies are so good because of their, I guess, the bins that they're in and the water to bin size kind of a deal, and also the humidity hide. They just shed completely. Like, it's all rolled up like in a corner, and I'm like, well, hell yeah. So
it's so funny how different their sheds feel. Like
soft.
It's because their skin is so thin, right? Mm-hmm. As opposed to like a carpet or like a ball python or Burmese python.
I was terrified that they were going to peel wrong when the first ones came out, and I'm like, okay, let's just see how it goes. And they're just like, boop. I'm like, oh, sweet. Like it's.
I noticed when I was keeping ring pythons, to me, the thing was making sure that I had a humidity hide. I did the similar thing. I put all the sphagnum moss into the hide. Never had any issues with shedding. I did notice though, and I'm curious about your so not to cut you off, but pin that real quick. But do you notice them drinking? So like I know when I change the water on my carpets, it could be a day later. They'll all run over and drink. Same thing.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well,
that's probably a python.
I mean, after they've decided whether or not they want to kill me, then they'll go over and get a drink. The ring python that is actually the ring python. The only ring python I have in the house now is the ring python I got from you, because the other female went to Ryan. Right. But she will spend a lot of time in her humidity hide. And then we'll venture out. And I have hides with all my animals. And they're all the same thing. It's all a bin, whether it's a small 5-quart plastic bin in a 32 or a 41, or if it's a 5-gallon bin, or if it's a 10-gallon bin. They're all bins with holes in them that the snake can climb in, and I can fill it with stuff. And it's usually mulch with a lot of the animals. For white lips, ring pythons, and rainbow boas, it's just moss. Right. That's it. It's the only difference.
Yeah, Lisa was saying that she just uses large water bowls. Maybe her humidity's higher over on the West Coast.
I don't know. It's you got to take what other people do into consideration, but then do your own thing.
Wait, hold on.
Yes.
Lisa, I'm throwing this out to you. Do you have plants in your white lip python cages? Answer that real quick. Go to your whatever you were going to say, and when you pinned it.
I was already going to talk about the bins. We're good. Yeah.
Gotcha. So unpinned. So William had a question. Lisa already had hers. Basically, are the males protecting the females when you're putting them together?
Putting them together? No. Usually it's like Like one snake is over here, one snake is over here.
Very
and then
nervous.
eventually,
I remember
they
many Mario Python radio episodes where you were wearing.
I'm like, I hate it so much. And then eventually at one point, all of a sudden, they're just like glue. They're in the same bin. They're curled up under the heat. He's trailing her, following her around. Sometimes this happens, especially after like reintroductions after feeding. All of a sudden, he's like, who is this person? I've never seen her before in my life. And he's just all over her. So that will definitely happen. I would say I've seen protecting of females by the male. Females tend to hide, or at least my girls tend to hide when they're doing something, whether it be shedding or the female white lip, the gold one, she was getting ready to lay her eggs. That's when the male kind of will start maybe being a little bit more protective of her. But by that point, I've pulled them, because if I start getting signs that she's actually gravid, he's out of there.
Gotcha.
I didn't see any too crazy as far as protection goes, but for the golds, he was so much bigger than her. I would open the bin and she'd be on the bottom and he'd be on the top, just because that's how it was. So,
right.
Yep.
So Joshua was asking, what are the dimensions and format of this enclosure? I guess you're talking about your adults. Clarify how big this Pop One swamp they're hosting them in ought to be.
Well, it's not a swamp 100%, but we can go
Shoveling, climbing, ventilation.
We'll start at the bottom and move our way
Okay.
up.
All right.
So first is the babies. Babies are in 5-quart bins.
Right.
They have a small humidity hide and water bowl. That's it. No extra climbing stuff, no nuts or anything like that. Next step up would be the blackface younger female. She's in a 32-quart bin. She has a 5-quart bin, humidity hide, large water bowl, and then she has a 3D printed perching thing for her to climb on. And I will say the temperatures for both those things. So the baby white lips are at 85, 86. And then same thing with the other female in the 32.
Gotcha.
The next one would be the new baby white lip I got from Lisa, and also this one from Ryan. They're in 15-quart bins, water bowl, humidity hide, and 3D printed perch, because 15-quart bins are deep. So if you put a 3D printed perch, it actually is usable.
Yeah.
So there's that. After that is the younger gold face male. He's in a 3x2x2 on pine bark mulch mixed with large pine nuggets.
Okay.
I'm sorry, this pine bark mini nugs is what they are.
Okay.
It's the Repti bark bullshit, but it's from Lowe's.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't have an animal sticker on it.
Yeah. Iguana on the front.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a T-Rex, so it's cheaper. It's that with a bunch of sphagnum moss, and then he's got a 5-gallon bin, like one of those black ones with the yellow lid.
Yeah.
And that's full of moss, and he's in an adult rack, which adult cages go to 84, 85 during the day and will not stop it from dropping until it hits 70.
Gotcha.
So basically it goes there and then it does whatever. Like if it goes down to 70, cool. If it tries to go down to 69, it'll bump it back up to 70. If it stays at 74, 78, which usually does in the summer, nothing's going to turn on.
Gotcha.
The adults are in the Goldface adults are in 6x2x2s. They have the 10-gallon tough tote bins as their hides full of moss. And then they have cat litter pans as their water bowls. They have one shelf over on the cold side of their cage because they have a radiant heat panel on the warm side.
Okay.
And then they have branches attached to the top of the cold shelf that go down into the center. So they stick out or go down to the center. So there is some perching, but it all stops at where the bin is. So if they want to bask, they'll be on top of the bin. If they don't want to bask and they want to just get high or whatever, they'll go over on the other shelf. They'll hide behind the sticks. They'll perch on the tree branches as the sun is doing whatever it's doing. So they'll do all that. They are also on the same pine bark mini nugs mulch mixed with some moss and stuff like that. Their temperatures do the same thing that the adult temps do in the main carpet room. 84, 85, maybe 86 high during the day, and then it'll stop it before it gets below 70. The room that they're in is a outward facing room. So my main snake room is in the back of my basement, which my basement is a walkout basement. So my main snake room is technically completely underground. But I have one side room that is a little bit above ground. That's where my colubrids are, and that's where the laundry room is. And then I have the main snake, the other big snake room that is a complete walkout and has 2 walls that are outward, like real, like there's nothing beyond that. There's outside.
Right.
And that room does fluctuate a little bit more. So I would say that it gets a little bit cooler. I don't necessarily go as nuts as far as, let's put it this way. It's where I put my bread light when I want them to breed. So I put them in those cages. That's where the golds are. The black white lips are in 6x2x2s, but their cage has a PVC pipe that connects the 2 of them with caps on either end that I can open. So right now, my pair of white lips are in a 12x2x2 because the doors have been open. They're together.
Right.
And it, one will be over here, one will be over here. They swap. They'll be together. They won't be together. As long as I can find 2 white lips in this 12-foot monstrosity,
right,
I'm good. So
okay,
yeah,
okay, yeah. I was trying to remember. I remember seeing you keep the golds in the main room, right?
I used to. They're now out.
They're now
outside. Yep.
But I think the last time I was there, you had them in.
The last time you were here, they were in the main room, but they've moved out and that's where I got them to breed. So now they will never ever go back in the other room.
Right. So okay, this is where I have your thoughts on this. So we've sort of talked about feeding and keeping and all that kind of stuff. In the Barker's book, they talk about that it's that typically, even though they'll come in to be able to breed, typically they won't breed until they're 5 to 8 years old.
That makes so much sense to me. It's ridiculous.
So could it be that the difficulty with breeding this species, I mean, basically that's what it's been, right?
We've talked about this like a million times. Like, what is the difficulty? The difficulty is that people get it. They raise it till it's 4. It doesn't breed, and then they ditch it, or they try something different. The problem is that you need to get an animal, keep it consistently until it's 6 or 7 years old, and then pair it together and breed. Like, this is the same shit that I had to deal with my olives. Like, the olives didn't breed at 4. I didn't get there. Like, it did not work. Like, it did not work.
Yeah. But Lisa shared something in the NPR chat today, and she was talking about white lips. Natush found wild reproductively mature males were 106 centimeters, and females were 140 centimeters.
Jesus, that's awesome.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. Right.
I am not shocked by half the things because we try to take a snapshot photo of our understanding of a species and base it onto other species. And it's like, you got to understand that's a good starting point. You have to move up. You need to start building on top of that and seeing where the differences come in. I find trying to breed a species is treated like a carpet python. Okay. And if that doesn't work, start fiddling, like start tweaking.
I guess you have to think, right? Like most pythons breeding strategy for the most part is going to be the same. It's just a matter of figuring out the maturity. That's number one. And number two, where do they fit within that season? Right. So like you got the spring breeders and then the winter breeders.
I don't even think you can do that, because if we look at it, so like this white lip I got from Ryan,
or do they fit like ball pythons where you can breed them all year long?
I think there's a large, gap of what it is. So I think having a season, it depends on when the female ovulates and things like that. But
Yeah,
I
but I
think
would think that in the wild, right? Wouldn't they be more? I mean, because
there would be
I
a
think
set
just of the
season.
weather patterns, right? It would be
Yes,
monsoon season
there
and
would be
or
a set season,
dry
but
and wet, right?
in captivity,
Yeah.
Ryan got eggs and his babies were hatched before June. And I didn't even get eggs until June.
So do you think it has to do more with the barometric pressure type of deal?
I
Do you
think
think
that's
it has
part
to
of
do
it.
with
I
precipitation?
I think that's part of it. I think barometric pressure, precipitation, the animal itself, like I think also how you're keeping it when it comes into the cycle. And I think the biggest problem with hard to breed species is maybe they're not as obvious with their ovulations, you know?
Yeah.
So
And
maybe
plus
you miss
too,
it.
I don't think they really haven't been like really a lot of the pythons in Indonesia really well maybe more so, you know, like retics and stuff
Well, I mean, let's
more
put
in,
it this
but
way.
like Papua New Guinea is really like you could get killed going there. So like there's
Well,
not a lot of people
it's
running to get there.
there's that. So,
Yeah.
but the thing is, like, so you have a white lip in captivity. Let's say you make the first cardinal sin and you overfeed it.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Second cardinal sin is that you're trying to breed it at 4. And then the third cardinal sin is you threw the male in there and the same type of breeding cycle as your carpet python. Well, dude, I have carpet eggs getting ready to hatch, and I haven't
Right.
seen any white lip eggs. I had carpet eggs. I had carpets and olive eggs before I had white lip eggs last year.
Really?
So if I had noticed the other eggs, which I've done this in the past, I admitted to it, where I would get other things. I would get carpet eggs, all these other eggs, and I would see other people who already got their white lip eggs, and I'd be like, clearly I missed it, and I would separate them. So if you're not paying attention to it,
Right.
you could miss out on it. Like my pairs of white lips will not be separated until the beginning of July. And then they will have July, August, September, and October to eat separately and do all that stuff. And then they'll be good to go.
I was adding people into the chat as you were talking there for a second. I thought you guys were in the chat. I don't know.
Yeah,
Sorry.
weird.
Sorry.
So
yeah, I like that chat. It's cool chat.
It's all right, Chad. We'll keep it.
Okay, so let's see what else do we got. 5 to 8 years. So here's another thing that I hear a lot with these guys, and I know we've talked about this multiple. Well, first of all, let's get to Noah's thing. Anyone see their white lips shed almost every month as an adult?
Not really.
No.
I mean, maybe, but I'm also not sitting there tracking it on some sort of Excel spreadsheet to make sure that, like, if it's an adult animal, if it's a sexually mature adult animal that is now a proven animal, I don't give a crap if it sheds once a year. It's fine. It's not getting any bigger. I'm not trying to make it any bigger. But I would say that monthly probably sounds great for a baby and for juvie.
Maybe it has to do with what he's feeding. Maybe.
It also depends on how often they're fed, and also depends it also depends on the individual animal. So I would say that my adults do not shed monthly. And also I will gauge the adults' sheds to what's going on with them. So my female blackface has been doing some interesting stuff, and then she just went into a shed.
Okay.
So I have my eye on her because of what she's doing, and now a shed has appeared out of nowhere. My goldface female is in shed, which, going by what happened last year, we're right on course for her to start doing some stuff and getting some things and going and stuff like that. So,
okay.
Yes.
All right. I just added everybody to the
So
chat.
basically, I caught my goldface female basking belly up June 7th.
Mm-hmm.
So she's going into a shed right now. So we're almost on point.
I wonder if it's going to fall into.
I got to get hands on her. Really, is what I got to do.
Well, you have what do you call it? Don't you?
Ultrasound. Yeah. When I say hands, I mean touch it, and then if it's not obvious, poke it with an ultrasound.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Gotcha.
But I kind of want to well, I mean, we talked about this last year. You know, it was obvious, but I will not confirm a clutch until it's in my goddamn hands, and then I won't confirm babies until they're in my goddamn hands. Like it's, so I just got to check her out. Really, is what we're doing. The blackface female is what's got me a little weird. I'm keeping my eye on her. She's acting weird. So
weird. Okay, how so?
Good
What do you mean?
weird.
Oh,
Good
good
weird.
weird.
Good
Okay.
weird. So she made a burrow underneath her hide box.
Is that okay? So
Yep.
is this the? So how do you know you're on the? What has so with all your observations of trying
Yep.
to breed this species? Real quick before that, I did have a thought when it comes to maybe why people have difficulty breeding them, right? And I think that Ryan Young is probably you're pretty much like this too. Is that you'll see a lot of people where every year they sort of change it a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
They sort of, you know, it's okay, I guess, to tweak it or whatever if you notice something,
Small,
whatever, blah blah blah. To me, it's
small
more about
tweaks are
timing,
fine.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
But I think that like so. For instance, let's just say, oh, I dropped my temps down to 70. So next season, I mean, remember in the early days of bull and python breeding where it would be like, well, I'm going to take them down to the 30s. And it's just like, wait, what?
Jesus Christ.
Wait, what?
I'm shoveling snow on top of them. Why?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just the thought, but anyway, I was going to say there was a thought that that I know we've talked about in the past, and it talked about pairing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That with this species and ring pythons and Papuan pythons and a lot of the species, I would say from Papua New Guinea, seem to be very mate selective.
Cannibalism is a problem. Aggression is a problem. That's why
I don't even so mean that. I mean, like you could have, they don't want to eat each other,
but they don't want anything to do with each other.
But they don't want anything to do with each other either.
I feel like setting it up kind of on their terms is a little bit better. I didn't intro my white lips, my blackface. I didn't like pull the male out and throw him into the female's cage where he was like, I just undid the things, and they found each other, like, and that's pretty much it. And they have room to get away. I did intro the golds, and I will put the male in the female's cage, but I also those first introductions you have to be wary of that kind of stuff. I've had white lips injure themselves. I'm sorry, injure each other. And it can happen quickly, and it can happen a lot of the times. They're totally cool with each other, and then all of a sudden they're not.
Okay.
So I would say that the instance of straight up like murder is definitely higher in rings than it is with white lips. And I think it's a little bit even higher in Apodora. So
yeah,
I feel like that's something you need to understand when you're going in here. Like I have had to stitch up white lips. I have had to get medication for injuries. I'm pretty sure that adult female had that messed up spine because of the male. Like he bit her in the right place and did something. So that can and will happen. You need to be prepared for that. I have some luck right now, knocking on wood, that my golds are getting along and my blackface are getting along. They've had no aggression towards each other.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was on Ryan Young's molecular reptile page, and I was getting those pics of the white lips, right? And I was flipping through, and he had a Papuan. Like a Papuan.
Oh God, I felt so bad for him this year. Yeah.
Holy shit!
Yeah, his male got carved up by the female.
Dude, man, that species is intense.
They scare the crap out of me.
They are.
I want them. I want to give it a shot, but you know how pissed I would be that female eats that male or something like that, or oh God, or just rips him to shreds. Like I'd feel so sad. Like I'd be so mad about that.
Yeah.
Especially if it was like a pristine captive born and bred animal. And you're like, no scars on this guy. First interaction with a female, half his side is getting ripped off. Like, no.
Such a quirky species, man. That species is so quirky. Okay. Josh got another question. How about the issue of unexplained dropping dead? Like we find in ring pythons, not meaning talk them down, but I do have,
have never had a white
Would
lip
you
drop dead out of nowhere. They're
would you equate it to maybe they're wild caught?
I would say maybe that. I would say that they're a very easily stressed out python, all three species, white lips and rings. I would say there's that. I would
So,
say, like I
like,
said, they are. I've had some keel over quickly from illnesses that you would have thought they would have been able to shake.
yeah,
So it like they're not as forgiving to keep
yeah.
or air.
To me, you know, you hear me say all the time about how carpet and yeah, Ryan Dumas always yells at me about this because I do like his thinking and how he says that they're more forgiving of keepers' error, so it allows us to sort of make mistakes, and it's probably the wrong way to say it, but
It is.
yeah. But I don't know how to say it. I'm trying to reformulate that, but I do get it was a great point that he made. But anyway, when I say that carpet pythons are more resilient, I just think that this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
In my experience, when I'm working with things like, well, let's just narrow it down to like thinly skinned species, right? To me, I have found that they are much more delicate to things like humidity, temperature, hydration, you know, these type of things.
I would say,
as opposed to a carpet.
Well, I mean, let's say you have a room full of snakes. Your canaries in the coal mine are your green tree pythons. When they're off the branches, something bad is happening. So something gets into your collection. The green tree pythons are the first ones to go down.
What do you mean, if they fall off the branch and die, or if they're laying on the
like
ground?
just like die? Like, I mean, let's say something happens. Your green trees are the first ones to die. I think right after that is your white lips.
Okay,
those are the next ones to be susceptible to other things. Like, I've had keepers who have multiple species in like the same kind of rack system.
Yeah,
and everybody's fine. White lips are sick.
Yeah,
kind of a deal. So that can happen. That is something you need to be aware of.
So here's a thought that popped into my mind as we're talking, and I'm curious. I really don't know. I'm embarrassed that I don't know this, but like, what is the reason for iridescence in a snake? Like, what purpose does it serve for the snake? Does it help with heat absorption, UV absorption?
I don't know. I mean,
you don't know either. Oh, okay.
No, I mean, you can. The problem is that I don't think there's anything for the
camouflage.
No, right? No. I don't think there's anything for the iridescence. I think it's just that you get it because that's their color and the way that their scales are built. It's like how you get iridescence in a fish. Like, it's.
Yeah, but you don't think that has to serve a purpose? No,
I don't know, but I would say that I don't think it does anything as far as absorption.
And I'm thinking as far as like their habitat, right? Like when I'm thinking of a forested canopy, like, you know, canopy covered type of deal. So it's not like you're getting direct sunlight unless you get these little, you know, like in the jungle where you get little shots of sunlight through the trees.
That's why they're lighter on the bottom, darker on the top. Because if you're looking at them down, it's darker. If you're looking at them up, it's lighter.
Right.
It's the same thing with a great white shark.
Right.
Like that's why.
But jungle carpet.
Exactly. So, but that's not. I think it's just because that's how our
it's
eyes.
It's a sign of difficulty.
Difficult to breed, right?
That's good.
That's what it is. It's a rainbow thing. I think it's just the way we perceive the color that their scales are and how the sun hits it and disperses it.
That's a good question too. Do snakes see in ultraviolet? I don't know. Wow, there's a lot of shit I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just popped into my head, like those species in particular. Usually those thin-skinned species.
It's weird because, like, I want. That's what we're talking about. You getting stuff. I need you to line up some Moluccan scrubs so I don't have to go get those. So,
okay. Yeah. Moluccan scrubs.
Add them to the list.
I'll work on that.
Calabar burrowing pythons, Moluccan scrubs.
Are they considered pythons? Calabar burrowing?
I think they're boas. I think the Calabar burrowing boas. So we don't need them anymore.
Okay.
We'll need the we need the what is it? The bicolor.
The Mexican boa.
Yeah, that's a python. That's a python. We have to get that one. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
That's an ugly, brown, nasty, bitey python. You buy it, it'll end up in my house in 5 minutes. So
that's a good thing. Robert and Erica both said that maybe it's a visual cue for other snakes, like how birds can see in different colors.
maybe
When Keith hears this, he'll give us an answer.
he will. Keith will let us know. He's like, I don't know. Oh,
yes.
I got the herp with him and Teresa this weekend. It was him, Matt, and
I was
Teresa
jealous.
and Matt's daughter.
Yeah.
That was our car.
So Balin. Oh, Balin wasn't with you?
Balin was with us. So what happens is like the first set out of herping, there was a lot of people, so we had to break up into different cars. So it was like groups and stuff like that. Jason was in one of the other cars, and then as people kind of dropped off throughout the day, it was rearranged that it was like me, Dan, Stacy, and Jason in one car. So, but it was fun. Got to see Zach this weekend too. So
Bias?
Yeah.
Oh yeah? No
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How's he doing? Good?
Oh, he's good, dude. He was talking about his trips and just got back from Africa, and I told him of how much mojito chicken he's got to bring to Carpet Fest, and he's like,
oh, is he coming to Carpet Fest?
He's like, oh yeah, baby, oh yeah.
Oh,
I'm like,
yes.
yeah,
Dude, we got the grill top, man.
I told him, I
I'm
said,
the
like,
master
Eric's
of
got a whole thing.
recipes
Oh,
on the
yeah.
grill top.
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah,
I'm
man.
excited.
I was
Anyway.
making cheesesteaks the other day. All right, back on track.
That's all.
White lip pythons. Nobody wants to hear us talk about chicken
No one
cheesesteaks.
talks about food. Yeah.
I think what's his name got really mad that I made chicken cheesesteaks and not beef cheesesteaks.
Listen,
what's his name?
Nick Scally?
Nick Scally.
Listen, you go back to Boston.
Yeah.
Like, it's enough.
Yeah. That's what I thought too, Erica. But I was gonna let Owen run with it. Burrowing pythons
Jesus,
are not
really?
pythons.
They aren't?
No.
Well, I guess we don't have to get them.
I think they're like sort of like they used to be in the family of pythons, and then they got moved out or whatever. So
Yeah. All right. Never mind.
unless it's chicken wings for white lips. That's right.
I always.
All right. So breeding wise, we're talking about so what? Actually, I should have asked this question. What was the age that you bred them at? How old
I
were
got
yours?
well, my female's unknown age because she's a wild caught. She was a wild caught and adult. So my male is, I think I have his stuff in here. Hang on. I can tell you exactly how old he is.
You do take notes.
Shh. No one will believe you.
I know they won't. Owen just throws shit at the wall and somehow it works.
Yeah. I want to say he's a 2007, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Or he's like a 12. I have to find his thing here. If you hear a puppy screaming, it's because there's a puppy screaming.
It's one of the 5.
Yes. It's one of my 5 beautiful pit bull puppies.
Yeah.
Dear,
oh dear.
Dear, oh dear. He is a 2012. God damn. All right. He's a 2012 captive born and bred from Laurel Kern, KERN.
I added these guys to the wrong group. I added them to the network. Oh, what an idiot. I'm sorry.
Oh, God, take them out of there.
Yeah.
There's important things in there.
God. The secrets. All right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Go ahead. You go and I'll make it right.
Thank you. My male's a 2012 from Ralph Kern. So he's probably the oldest that we have here right now. Like I said, my female was a wild caught. So I don't know exactly.
She an adult when you got her?
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, so he's 11. So he's 11. The female, I want to say, was 4 when I got her. Maybe a little bit older than that, because the person, and I'll take this with a grain of salt, that I bought her from said that she looked thin and absolutely horrible. And they're like, that's because she just laid eggs. It's like, okay. I mean, maybe.
Right.
So I got her as an adult in 2020. In January. So even if she was 4 or 5 and I got her to go last year, I mean, let's say she was 4, 2020, 21, 22, 23, I mean, choose 6, then maybe 6 or 7.
Okay, that
So
puts right in line.
yeah. So that would be the best. Now, like I said, when I got the male, he was chunky. Like looking at the picture on his profile file thing that I have for him, he is fat as hell.
Really?
He's got fat rolls. He does not have those anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, he's slimmed out.
So I know we're coming close on time, but I was going to ask, like, what, like when you were slimming them down, how did you do that? I was curious about that.
Not feeding him and giving him a bird.
Smaller meals.
I gave him birds less often. So I would say that it was quail, or if it was some chicken, and it was left often, like maybe once a month, maybe something like that. And because I didn't have a female, I wasn't really cycling him down for anything. So it would just, I would cycle him down, but there was never any kind of no introduction, no need to feed him and chuck him in with the girl. It was just like now for a couple months you won't be fed, and when you wake up, more birds. So it was that for maybe a year or 2.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So as far as breeding, are we looking at the same stuff we're normally looking at, like normal python?
You're making me go back into the archive thingy here. So
Owen's book.
Yeah, locks were observed. Let's see. They were observed in April, late April, sometime in May. There were a couple in May.
Okay.
On June 7th, I caught her basking belly up. And then June 10th is when she laid the eggs. Okay. So kind of in the same point of it. So the eggs hatched on August 10th. So we're talking like 60 days.
Okay.
Right then and there. Same python temps.
What was the size of the clutch?
9.
Okay.
9 eggs, 9 babies. She did 100%.
What's the typical? 9, 10?
I don't know.
Something
I don't
like
know. I think varies.
I read 13 in the Barker's book. I don't know.
That varies on size of female and also like productivity. Like I would not expect, well, let's put it this way. If she's a big female that's never been bred, she's going to have more eggs and stuff like that. But then also I've had females where they were maybe on the smaller side and they had 12 eggs. And then the following year they have 14 eggs. It almost seems like if they get better at it, there might be 1 or 2 more eggs in there. So for her size,
I've heard ball python people talk about that too.
And also it's dependent on the size of the egg. So for her size, she is bigger than my rough scale python. She laid 9 eggs. Rough scale python laid 16.
But you said the rough scale pythons are like tiny.
They're
eggs, right?
tiny eggs. Like
white lips are like carpet eggs or bigger?
Yeah, white lips are like carpet eggs. I have. Yes, I still have every single white lip egg. Okay, it's like yes, of course I do.
Are you gonna dip them in bronze?
No, I don't want to talk about what my plans are for that. I dried them out. Like, if you let a snake egg dry out, they just dry.
Sure.
And I have olive eggs all over the place because those are the ones that, like, you have kids come over. You're like, here's a dinosaur egg.
Yes.
And it's a big egg. But kept the white lip eggs for me, man. I don't care about other people.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's kind of cool that you have that reference, you know what I mean? So like if you ever need it at some point that you kind of know, I guess.
But I would say there are definitely carpet eggs that I've had that are the same size.
Okay. I'm curious to breed one of those big pythons where the eggs are like 4 times the size of what we're used
like I'm watching
to. You know what I mean?
Like retic breeders were like, here it is. Oh, it's a little bit small. I'm like, that is a goddamn ostrich egg. What are you talking about? Like,
I was listening to the Retic Lounge and I was listening to them talk about, eggs and stuff and the size of babies and stuff. And I'm thinking like carpets are like 20 grams and they're talking like 70, 80.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
Dude,
like,
olive pythons are so much fun because they come out of the egg and you're like, okay, here's your hopper, here's
Oh.
Eat the hopper, eat the hopper. Okay, well, I guess I can move you up. Here's your small mouse. And then all of a sudden you open the bin and you're like, where'd this giant, like, freaking python come? Where's my baby? Like, and like I got the 15 quart racks in my room because when we get a certain number of months past the hatch date, all the olives need to move because they've gotten too big.
Yeah.
And between hatch date and that move-in time, I'm trying to sell as many olive pythons as I can because I don't have that many 15 quarts. So like
Those
right
little
now,
bastards grow, man.
dude, and they don't stop.
You can't even feed them, and they're still growing. It's like,
weird because like so right when they go from the 5 to the 15, they all look a little fat, and then they get in the 15 and they get on those 3D perches, and they just winding all in them all the time, and they all slim out and they keep eating and growing, and it's like okay. So, and I have 5 olive pythons right now. And I'm like, y'all need to get out of here. I need to make some, because I got 17 olive eggs in the incubator.
I love olive pythons. They're another one, man. They're another cool species.
Maybe
we'll talk about them when I come back.
Favorite of mine. They are a favorite of mine.
Such a cool snake, such an underrated snake, but they're
but it's one of those things where you get it and you put it out. Like we went to Melissa and I vended one show at Oaks, and I sold all the olive pythons because everybody's like, olive python, grab it.
Yeah, it's funny. Let me ask this question. When you think about olive pythons, do you lump them in with the big constrictors? Like, I think about this a lot, right? So it's like, I can't get a Burmese. That's a big constrictor. And I'm like, wait a minute. I have an olive python.
I don't. No, I don't. You're like, wait a minute. Like, no, I don't, because
right? Isn't it weird how they don't get lumped into that? They're not quite that big, but they're big, man.
They're like a Doberman. It's like, is it a big dog? Is it a medium dog? I don't know. It's a Doberman. Like it's my olives have never gotten past the point of eating retired XL rats because I
probably shouldn't, right? But yeah,
well, I don't need them to, because like I pushed my first original pair of olives onto guinea pigs and they just got fat. Could I wander around and find the smallest bunnies and feed them to my olive pythons? Sure. What the hell is the point of that? Like, if I can get, like, it all depends. Like, this is the size of food that they will eat, whether that is a rat, a rabbit, or whatever. That's it. Now, the olives will eat chicken too, but I'm not getting them the hens that I give to the retic. That would be too much for them. But I think because they never get beyond that point for me, it's like I have all the big snake package in not a big snake problem. I don't have to worry about pigs or shit like that,
I suppose.
Yeah.
But as I'm scanning books in, right, and I'm thinking about
I mean, I don't know why you talked yourself out of buying olive pythons, speaking as a guy who only has 5 baby olive pythons left, but there are 17 coming right behind them. So
somebody talked it out of them. They talked them out of them.
Captain Jub here talked himself out. Yeah. And I am trying to, apparently Mike Curtin has a connection, a friend who breeds Cevus. And I keep doing the whole, how many olive pythons do I need to give you for a pair of Cevu pythons? And right now I think I'm up to, like, listen, I will give you 3 olive pythons to give me a pair of Cevu. Like, I don't want to spend any money, but I will trade you like this many if you give me what I want. So
yeah, I was looking. So this is what made me think of it, right? Look at this. Everybody's seen that picture.
Yeah, the pill. Yeah,
that's an olive python.
That's a Pilbara olive, right?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. No, that's not. These are not the olive pythons we have in the country. Those are anything for. If you're going to survive in Pilbara, you have to be evil, like, no, or huge.
They're sock puppet heads. Yeah, I'm with you. I like the olive python. The weirdest head of all is the Papuan python.
Yeah, that big stumpy. They got the like bulldog face.
Very, very.
I want them, but I'm not going to have them rip apart a mate, because then I'll just feel really bad. So,
yeah, I would want one just to have one. Not necessarily breed them, because you get to that point and you're like, wait, but if we ever have a facility, we'll have them. No worries.
We're gonna have to. Yeah.
I guess that's it with olive pythons. We're kind of at the end. Hopefully,
You're talking
you know.
white lip pythons, right? Oh shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Taking on Skull Island. Skull Island. Where the hell's Skull Island? Never heard of that.
It's King Kong.
Oh,
There you go.
oh man. Yeah. Wasn't one of the roughies that found it? Yes. It was,
Yeah.
and Olive was eating it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyone good have Macklots for sale? You should hit up
Mike Curtin.
Mike Curtin. Yeah.
Mike Curtin has a bunch of olives. I have
No, he has Macklots.
Macklots, not olives.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get him. He and I keep yelling at each other because I keep threatening to give him olive pythons, and he keeps threatening to give me yellowtail Crebo. So right now we're at like a Mexican standoff where I won't give him any olives if he doesn't give me any yellowtail Crebo, and that's where we're at.
Okay.
I made him take some Chinese king rats in a trade for some Macklots pythons. So
you got more Macklots pythons?
Oh, I have 6 Macklots pythons right now.
Oh, okay.
I will
breed Macklots pythons.
I will breed Macklots pythons. So help me God.
I think I might try to get them and breed them just to breed them before you.
That's not. Why would you do that? Why? That's mean.
That is mean.
Because I've had that. This is all your fault because I've had glitch this whole fucking time.
How many olives for a white lip?
Depends on the white lip.
Southern. Oh shit.
Depends on the sex of the white lip.
He'll give you the whole all of them. All of them.
No, somebody needs to come get my retic. I need that cage.
I do like Robert has some nice retics. If he breeds in one day, he's got those the small
back off,
ones.
Robert. I need him to take my retic. No.
Oh hell no, I don't want that thing. It's a
yes,
pride,
you do.
Right?
Yeah. She's a dwarf. She's a dwarf.
Okay.
Not a super dwarf. So she's
it's
like
an evil dwarf.
She's not she's not evil, you know.
Yeah, but pieds are feisty, man.
She's not a no, I got rid of the pieds. I ditched the pieds. She's
oh, what do you have? Oh, you have that one from
I have the platinum
Matt.
tiger something. Yeah.
Matt punches the wall every time.
Everything.
You don't know what they are.
Why won't you fucking learn it?
I've only told you so many
I tell
times.
you this all the damn
I think you felt
time.
that way back in the day when we would be like,
I know what a Borneo
red
blood
bloods, Borneo.
Listen, you learned the difference. I still don't, and probably still piss him off. But you know,
I do know the difference.
We were having way too much fun in Keith's car because Keith's getting ready to Keith's daughter's getting married and stuff like that. So we were talking all about that stuff, and Teresa's like, well, she got her dress and I got my dress. And then Keith is like, well, you know, and if you come to the wedding, you know, you guys are gonna see a different side of Keith. And I'm like, did your dress come to Keith? Like, is that
okay?
And he starts cracking up and he's like, God, I hate you. And it's like, he's like, God, he's like, and then he kept telling me, he's like, you know how much we missed the wombat on the trip when we were in Australia? Like, it was so horrible. I'm like, yeah, well, and you know, I'm just I was enjoying I was having the best damn time herping. I didn't care if we found shit.
Yeah,
I was yucking it up. We were laughing, all this stuff. We found a ton of stuff that we got an eastern milk snake. We got a black rat snake. We chased a black racer, but it got away. We chased another black racer, but it got away. We got spotted turtles. We found a worm snake. We got a red salamander. And these are all places that, like, I was with you in these places. You, me, Rob, and stuff like that.
Was it the Pine Barrens and stuff?
Yes, it was great. It was great time, great stuff. I wish I went down there Friday night and just hung out with Mike Curtin, Jason Balin, Dan, Stacy, and Caroline, just hanging out talking the whole time.
Nice.
Crashed at Mike's. I crashed at Mike's. Woke up the next day. Matt showed up. Keith showed up. Teresa showed up. Zach Baez showed up. And we were just yucking it up. And then we went down and we just went herping. And we met up with a bunch more people that Mike had invited. There were so many people, I feel like I didn't get to talk to anybody because we're herping and we're out. We're finding stuff. We're taking pictures. And like people were coming in, coming out all over the place. We went back to Mike's for lunch. And then we left shortly. We went and did some more herping, didn't find anything, and went home. So
Yeah, Sunday I leave for Utah.
yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
My retic is a female.
There you go.
And I will not breed her because there are enough goddamn retics in this world.
But
so,
yeah, you're right. You're right, man. The sucky part about that is like it's usually it seems very rare that me and you are on the same trip.
Yeah.
It's like this, it's like
we can't, like, again, like I make the joke is that you and I can never be on the same trip because if the plane goes down, then NPR dies. White lips, the albino white lips are the T-Paz albino white lips. They're in gold phase. There is one breeder of them. I forget which country he's in. I want to say the Netherlands, but I could be wrong. But he's definitely over in Europe.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And he started with one animal.
Nerd have them or no?
We'll get to that. So he started with one animal.
Jumped the gun. Sorry.
Yep, he had success. Got a bunch of hets. Where he had one weird animal, bred it, got the hets, and now he is Germany. Okay, there you go. And now he is crossed.
He should have known.
Exactly. He started to cross the hets back to the original male as well as breed hets together. So he's starting to produce more and more of these T-positive albino white lips. They are really cool. Austria. God damn it. Never mind. So
I take it back.
So he's starting to get more and more of these T-pos. And I know there was one visual male as well as several hets that were brought over from to Nerd. So I know Nerd had a visual male and some het females and then maybe some non-het females. Whether or not they've had success with them, I don't know. So there are very few T-Pos albinos in the U.S. I maybe only know of the ones at Nerd. I don't know of anybody else who's taken the leap into getting them. I always thought about it, but I wasn't paying that price tag.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
it is a recessive thing. So
it is recessive.
Yeah,
it's been proven that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, I liked West Texas. I
loved West Texas.
I really did. I'm curious to see how Utah is. So I've been to Arizona, I've been to Southern California, I've been to West Texas. We kind of went through New Mexico, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, we went to Roswell. I'm in a different state. Check. Yeah, so it's. I would love.
Didn't we find that? Wait, wasn't the coach whip? Wasn't one of the coach whips?
Yeah, coach whip
on the way to New Mexico.
No, not with me. We didn't see a coach whip. The one.
Yeah,
coach
you were there.
No, we were on the way home.
Oh, okay.
No, the only coach whips we found the one coach whip that Justin tried to dive for, but it got away from him.
Right.
And then the other coach we had was so easy to handle because it was on death's door, so it was not in good shape. So,
yeah, the coach whip, the one we saw was on the palm. What is it? I want to say it's a Joshua tree, but it's the Island of Palms or something like that hiking trail. That's the one. That's the one trail where at the end of it, I was coming out and I was all like, I couldn't tell which car was ours. So, all right, so we're gonna wrap up here. I got some packing to do and snakes cleaning. It's always fun going on vacation before or going herping before getting everything together before you go. So we won't be here next week, but we'll return the following week. And did you lick the toads wearing Joshua tree? No.
I mean, first off, that's how we start every NPR herping trip is we find a toad.
We lick the toad.
And then we're not even 100% sure we found any of the animals we found. Like
whoever survives.
Whoever survives gets to become the host of NPR. Like, come on.
Oh man. But we're going out to Utah. Should be a good time.
Hopefully you guys have a good time, but if you guys find a Gila monster, I may never forgive you.
Oh, Gila monster, that's on your. I think we're going to a place where they're pretty.
You are pretty. And I'm not there, which means you're going to be tripping over rattlesnakes, and you're going to find a Gila monster. Why? Because I'm not there.
That's what I care about. I care about the.
You're gonna all of them every time I'm not there. The The time I went with us, that you went to with the Texas, we found 1 Atrox.
One
You guys go and you're like, they're blacktails falling from the sky, and I'm like, yeah, great, cool.
Yeah, dude, I think I found.
I've never seen a blacktail, and I really want to. Stop it.
Oh, dude, they're gorgeous.
That's why.
Gorgeous.
Them and sidewinders and the rock rattlesnakes, those white ones, and you're like, seen it.
Sidewinders were like the carpets of the desert.
I know, you
man.
were like, that's enough.
We went.
That's enough sidewinders. Like, I know.
Another sidewinder.
I know. Killing me.
Yeah, but Nipper's coming out, which I'm always that always makes me happy.
Is
So
Nipper's coming out for Carpet Fest, right?
No.
Okay.
He's going to herp with us in Florida.
Okay.
Which I totally understand why you would prefer to herp in Florida. So yeah, you should come down to Florida with us. You know,
when is that?
October.
You mean when I'm in like Scotland?
Oh, you're in Scotland?
Yeah. Honeymoon. Listen, I'll tell my wife that we're not going to go on our honeymoon because I should go herping with Nipper. Hold on. Hold on.
No.
Hold on.
As a married man,
honey,
to a newly married man.
Do we have to go to the honeymoon, or can I go herping with the guys? No, that did not go well. Yeah. That did not go well. No. I'm gonna have a very bad conversation later. Yeah.
Now you don't want to end the show, right?
I'm safe up here. Yeah. I'm safe up here. There are witnesses.
Just keep talking. Just cue up the podcast feed of NPR. She'll think you're talking.
Now we're in hour 12 of Will Owen Die.
Yeah. Well, good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
As far as us, so in the next I'm probably in between herping. I'm probably going to try to line up some guests. That I have a couple people that I'd like to chat with. But
make that doctor come back on. Tell him you'll buy him several bottles of DEP. Justin, tell Justin to come on and talk us post herping this trip, and we'll buy him some Diet Dr. Pepper on the trail.
Speaking of the Reptile Fight Club, guys, tomorrow they're doing a live show. It's their 2nd year anniversary.
I really want to. 2 years. Shall we get the lovely couple after 2 years?
No, all good.
I'm like, I really want to participate, but I don't think I listened to enough of their shows to get anything right, so I'm not going to come.
So they're gonna be live here tomorrow on the show, and they're giving away. I think Justin's giving away a T-shirt, and I offered to give away Hunters in the Trees, so they're gonna give that away.
Cool
as well. I think you can only have 10 people in the group that they have.
Yeah, on the little
that can. Anybody can listen, but I think only 10 people can log in. So there's a link that's in the show notes that just click on that and go to that and you should be able to join up. But always a good time with those guys. So congrats to Justin and Chuck on their 2-year anniversary of Reptile Fight Club. They had a good one last week. It was Scott and Phil. They got pretty feisty, but they're good friends. You know how Scott is. He
listen. Sometimes you have to beat your friends in a ring of some kind, but yeah. Cotton. There we go. Cotton. We should get them a lovely shirt of some kind, or
I will
something
get them
like
a
that.
Sweet Lady DTP in a
cotton holder.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So yeah, be sure to check that out. That'll be right here on this. If you're obviously, if you guys are all watching it, it'll be tomorrow night. It's 9 p.m. I think Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Mountain Time.
Cottonmouth. Does that count?
Yeah, there you go. Cold-blooded caffeine.
Yep.
If you can click on our affiliate link and go over there. Guys are doing really good stuff. I love their coffee. Make great coffee. Oh man, that was very Trumpish shouting.
That was
greatest
bad.
coffee.
Yeah, stop that.
Stop it.
Yeah, no, never again.
Yes, I apologize. Yeah, man. Thank you, Josh. So Cold-Blooded Caffeine, if you want some coffee, we have the Carpets and Coffee, but there's plenty of other affiliates, and then they have their own stuff that they make. Really, really good stuff. You should check out their YouTube channel, too. They just started putting things up like how to make better coffee at home. those kind of things. So it's all good stuff for us. Follow us on the NPR network. Everything you need to know, supporting the show. You can check out our website, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all of that stuff. We also have a Patreon. And if you want to get in touch with us, email info@Morelia Python Radio, or just hit us up on the chat. It's so hard to juggle all these different things, man. It's like some people message me on Instagram, some people message me on Facebook, some people email me. So, oh dear. Some people even text me. But
I keep sending you pigeons with notes attached.
I know.
To it. Are they being received?
Yeah, okay, they are.
Good.
The dachshunds quite love the pigeons that come.
Listen, we're not. Well,
I did find my first garter snake of the year. I told you
Good.
that earlier.
Yeah.
Under my shed, came running out. I was so excited, and then the dog started chasing it, so I had to grab the dog, grab the snake, and separate.
I'm being chased around my house. Like I'll be walking and I'll hear dum 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 behind me because they move in herds. The little tiger sharks I have disguised as puppies. So, yep.
It's never harass Podrick. Never.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's all I got. Anything else you got?
Nope.
If you want some white lip pythons, go to your website.
If you want some white lip pythons, they are up on the website. I guarantee you're not going to like the price, but it was, they are up there. Also, there's some other stuff. I do have a bunch of pictures. I took up pictures of every single baby that was up for sale, and then the camera did not get the last 12 of them. Like those photos never appeared in the computer. So I haven't got the motivation to take the pictures of the babies again, and I haven't uploaded the pictures that I already took yet. So possibly this weekend, I'll have updated shots of all the animals up for sale, as well as some new stuff. But yes, white lips are on the website, as well as olive pythons and a couple other things, carpets, rhinos, mad hogs, all that stuff's up there. I will be at the Oaks show this weekend. I won't be vending, but I will be there. So if you are in the area and you want to get some animals and have them delivered, I can meet you at the Oaks show. But yep, that's it, man. That's all I got for us tonight. And we'll say thanks all for listening, and we'll catch everybody back here next week for some more Morelia Python Radio. Good night.